everyone. Today we are going to be making the third pattern in the series, which is the snail pattern. To make the snail, you're going to need 3 colors, one for the shell, one for the body, and an accent color. You'll also need fiberfill, scissors, an E-hook 3.5, a set of 10mm safety eyes, and a stitch marker. This video will cover more of the detailed parts of the snail. So if you are just now joining us and need to practice some of the more beginning, simpler steps in amigurumi, such as basic stitching or joining pieces, I would recommend starting back with pattern 1, which is the fish, or pattern 2. Both are fairly easy. The snail is going to be a bit more advanced, and to cut down on the video time for those who've been following along in the series, we won't be doing each piece that we did, in the full video as we did with the first 2. So again, if you're new to amigurumi and you need something a little bit more basic before we head into the snail, I would recommend going back and watching or reviewing video 1 and 2 for the first 2 patterns in the series. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. The first part of this pattern, we will begin with the head and body of the snail. I chose a light pink color for my snail this time. I'm going to make the shell this pretty green and do a bright pink accent when we get to those. You'll begin by putting 6 single crochets into a magic ring. We'll join to the first single crochet of the round, and after that we will be working the head and body in continuous rounds. It's going to increase in the second round. Go ahead and work up the rest of your head and body through round 16. We'll meet back here and we'll make the face details for the snail. Okay, we have worked our snail head up through round 15, and now we are going to make the little face details. So with 10mm safety eyes, we're going to place those between rounds 8 and 9, about 4 inches apart. And so I recommend getting all of the details of the face where you want them before you attach the washers to the backs of the eyes. So there we go, about 4 inches, or 4 stitches, pardon me, apart. Next, cut a piece of black embroidery thread. We're going to make some eyelashes. I like to make 2 up more towards the top of each eye for the snail, but you may place them wherever you like. I said on top of the snail. What I meant was on top of the eye versus to the side of the eye. So that they kind of, there we go, you look like that. And just repeat that on the other side. I got my yarn caught up in there, so take that out and re-thread my needle here. Try that again. stitch marker that time. There we go, finally. If you don't like where you place the eye details, or any of the details of the face, I know I've said this before in other videos, but just take it out and redo it, because I really feel like getting the details just the way that I want them is something that really makes me love an item more. And if I don't get it right, then I am not happy with it in the end either. Okay, so we have 2 eyelashes on top of each eye. Then we're going to come down and place a mouth around round 10, centered between the eyes. So I make a little V shape. Here. Just like that. I will take the other end of my embroidery thread. Tie that off inside there. Trim away the excess, and then with your accent color, we're going to do the little details on each cheek. So I'm going to cut a piece. You can really use any color you want for this. I'm going to use this bright pink color because I think light pink and bright pink are really pretty together. Okay, so to make that, I'm just going to come over here and 1 stitch, just like that. And then I go down one round and kind of over 1 stitch, and make another little accent stitch. And then I skip a stitch and make 1 more. So I end up with these 3 little stitches on the cheek. Just like that. I cut that off, tie it, tuck it in. There we go. And then I'm going to take the same color as the shell, and I'm going to put 1 stitch under the eye. This is totally optional. You can make whichever stitches you like. If you would rather not have a little stitch under the eye to match the shell, then you don't need to do it. Just give your snail your own little personality. Okay. So there's that side. So I'm going to tie that off inside, and I'm going to repeat all of that on the other side. So I'll make a little under eye stitch on the other side, and then 3 little cheek details. Okay, so here we've completed the details of the face, and I'm happy with everything. Go ahead and attach the washers to the back of the safety eyes. Snap those in place. Go ahead, once you have those popped in place, continue on. Or actually, I almost forgot. We need to stuff the little head. So stuff the head, and then you will continue on making the body through round 29, and we'll come back and we'll gently stuff the body at that point as well. Okay, we have worked up through rounds 29, and you can see the body of the snail is starting to take shape. So we're going to take a little bit of fiberfill and just gently stuff the body. You want to be careful not to overstuff it. You want it to hold its shape, but not cause any spaces to show in the stitches or gapping. So I just do a little bit at a time until I get as much in there as I would like. So once you stuff up to that point, go ahead and continue on making your snail's body. Rounds 30 through 47, which will complete the snail's body, will actually not be stuffed, and we'll show that a little bit more later as the shell will rest on top and be attached to that portion of the body. So go ahead and continue working your rounds, and we'll meet back here in round 47 to close. Okay, we have just completed round 47 of the body of your snail and fastened off. Take that tail left for sewing and thread your yarn needle. We're going to stitch this closed by going under the front loop of those last stitches in the round all the way around. Dropped my needle. Once you get all the way around, you're just going to pull snugly and it'll close. And then you can weave in and just take it through a stitch in the body and trim it down. And there you go. And you can notice that from rounds 30 to 47, we didn't stuff, as we talked about before, because that is where the shell will be stitched to our little body. Let's go ahead and get started on our shell. Okay, to begin your shell, start with the desired color. I'm using this mint green, and make 6 single crochets into a magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Join to the first single crochet of the round, and then we will work in continuous rounds moving forward. Now, with each pattern in the series, I like to do something new and hopefully give you a chance to either try something new or build on something you've already learned. So we are going to increase, but only in the back loops when we're making the pieces of the shell. So this is the first piece. We'll actually make 2 of these and join them together. And you'll see as we progress why we are working in the back loop only, because we're going to come back and make that detail stitching on the shell of the snail. So for round 2, we're going to do a back loop increase. It's like a regular increase. It's 2 of whatever stitch you're making into 1 stitch from the previous round. We're still working in single crochets, so it's still 2 single crochets into the stitch, but we're going to go into the back loop. So that back loop only. So if here's the front loop, here's the back loop. We're going to go right under the back loop and increase. So there's 1 and then 2. Go ahead and slide a stitch marker into the first stitch, and we're going to increase in the back loop only of each stitch around. So we should have 12 by the time we get back around. 1, so there are 2, and 2 in the next. Okay, round 3 is 1 single crochet in the back loop only in the next stitch, and then a back loop only single crochet increase in the next stitch. So take the stitch marker out. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the back loop only. Slide my stitch marker back in, and then do a back loop only increase. And we're going to repeat that sequence all the way around. Okay, we're to the end of round 3. And if you look at your shell so far, you can see kind of how the front loop sticks out a little bit. So when we come back to do the detail stitching of our shell after we complete round 8, these are the stitches we'll be working in. So go ahead and complete your shell piece through round 8, and then we'll come back here and I'll show you how to do the detail stitching. Okay, so I have completed 1 piece of the shell. I left a long piece of yarn for sewing on this piece. You only need to leave 1, so you can weave in when you make your second piece of the shell. You can just weave in when you fasten off. So with a complementary color, I'm going to use this bright pink. You're going to come up in your second round here under that front loop and rejoin your yarn, or join your new color. You can weave in that starting and later. And then we are going to slip stitch in the front loop. You can see, since we worked in continuous rounds, those front loops just spiral around the entire piece of shell through round 7. So you're going to go into the front loop of the next stitch and slip stitch. And we're going to just do that all the way around in a continuous fashion until you get to the last front loop only stitch of round 7, because in round 8 we just did single crochets all the way around for when we join the 2 pieces together. So just continue on in that spiral motion with your new color, slip stitching all the way around. And I just really like the effect that it gives the shell. Okay, you can see how it's starting to look. Go ahead, do that all the way around. Make your second piece. We'll come back here and I'll show you how to join the 2 pieces together. Okay, we have completed the 2 halves of our shell, and now we are going to line them up so that we can close them together. So you have one piece of yarn left on, or long piece of yarn left on one of the shell pieces. We're going to go ahead and thread our yarn needle. And to join the two pieces together, I'm going to go through the back loop of each piece and whip stitch. So just go up under that stitch in both rounds, back and forth. And we're going to do that until we get about 3/4 of the way around. And then we're going to stuff the shell. Okay, we're almost 3/4 of the way around. So let's go ahead and stuff the shell. I just do a little bit of a time. And again, you don't want to overstuff, just enough to help the shell hold its shape. Okay, looks good. So let's go ahead and just continue whip stitching the rest of the shell together, and then we will attach the shell to the snail's body. Now that we have finished our shell and our snail's body, we're going to attach the two pieces together. So I start by putting the shell on the back, the flattened part here that we didn't stuff, rounds 30 through 47. I make sure I have it where I want it, and then I start to pin it in place before sewing. That'll give me a chance to eyeball it, make sure I like where it's at. And if I don't, then I can take the pins out, repin it. And keep in mind you want to leave just a few rounds of your snail body out from behind the shell to create a little tail. Okay, using a long piece of yarn, the same color as the snail body, we're going to start to attach the shell to the body. And sewing it in place. I like to start back here, just go through a stitch, come up through the shell, go and do another stitch next to it, and pick up a stitch near where I have it pinned to secure it in place. And I'm going to do that all the way down the side. Oh, I pulled those loose. All the way down the side of the snail, up and around, until I have the body secured where I want it, all the way around. to have finished attaching the shell to the body, you can fasten that off. I'll weave in my start here in a minute to show you what it looks like so far. Got a little tail sticking out here, and I'm going to show you, don't be alarmed yet, because you'll notice when you let go of your snail, it's weighted, its head is weighted, and it's going to roll right forward. So that's what we're going to do next. We are going to actually anchor this part of the body back a little bit so that your snail can be freestanding. So to do that, take a long piece of yarn, the same color of the body still, onto your yarn needle. And you're going to go through, and this part can be a little bit tricky, but if you watch me, it's not too hard to do. You just have to feel comfortable really getting that needle all the way through. You're going to come from the underside of the body. So from back here, kind of in one of those last few rounds, and you're going to pass your finishing needle. You're going to really squeeze it so you go all the way through the shell and kind of come out somewhere in the front of the shell, or of the the snail's body, almost near round 16, 15, 16, somewhere in there. And just pull it through. And then I'm going to just have it right there. You can see where I came in at right here. That's just the start from my yarn before, but I came from the underside. I've now come through the front of the body. Then I'm going to pass the needle, just kind of go one stitch over and come through the body again and really push it through there so you can kind of come out where you started, like on the underside. Get kind of close there. So, and pull it through, all the way through. So I've got both. I'm going to go ahead and weave this in so it's not confusing us. That's the start of when I attached the shell. So let's just, I'm going to quick weave it in just to get it out of my way so that I'm not confusing anyone. So get that out of the way. Okay, so you can see here we've got the two pieces of yarn from where we passed through the snail's body, and you can see it's cinched here. And just by doing that, I didn't have to pull or do anything. You can reshape it a little bit, but that pulls that head back enough, just a bit, that it will sit upright. So I'm gonna squeeze, I wanna reshape the shell a little bit, and when I do that, it may loosen up the yarn. So before I tie it in place, I'm going to reshape, because when you push the needle through like that, you really have to squish it down, and it may make it get a little odd shaped. So I'm going to fill it back out, get the fiber fill where I want it. She may rock forward, she did. So I'm going to pull the yarn a little bit to bring her head in and see if she'll stand upright. Pull her a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is pull that and tie it off underneath. Really, I just double knot it on the underside. It's the same color as the body. You won't see it. And then I just trim it real close. And you can see, you can't really see it, especially if your little snail is going to be upright. So then I kind of fluff her out again, and it's a hard angle from the camera, but I want to show you that she'll stand upright after you do that step. So there you go. Let's go ahead and move on to making her little antenna. Okay, for the last step of our snail, we are going to make two little antennae. I'm going to use the same color yarn as the shell, but you can use the accent color, any color that you prefer for your snail. So magic ring here, and 6 single crochets into the center. You're going to join to the first single crochet of the round, like the other parts of the pattern, we'll work the antenna in continuous rounds after the join to the first single crochet in this round. So go into that first single crochet and slip stitch, and every other round here there will be no join, it'll be continuous rounds. So go ahead, work your antenna up according to the pattern instructions. I'm going to go ahead, do through round 5, meet back here to show you how I just stuffed the tip of the antenna. Of course we'll make 2, then we'll attach them to our snail to finish. Okay, we have been finished up through round 5 of our antenna. So we've got the little tip here, and I'm going to place just a little bit of fiber fill into it. So since it's a tiny opening, you don't need a ton of fiber fill, but if you have a hard time getting it in there, I can use my finger, but they put, sometimes in your fiber fill bag, they'll put this little stick, and you can use that to stuff it in. My favorite is the end of my hook. I just use my hook and gently stuff it in there. I don't know why, I just feel like it works a little bit better. So it's broad and flat, and I can get it down in there, and it's handy. And then there we go, we've stuffed the end. So go ahead and finish your last few rounds of your antenna. Make your second one, and then we will attach them to the top of the snail. Okay, just finished our little antenna, and now it is time to pin them to the head. So 1, 2, 3. I put them on just between rounds 3 and 4, and I like to put a couple pins in place to hold them where I want them. I'm going to try to pin these so that you guys can see it, but it makes it a little harder from my angle to see exactly where I'm going. So I may have to turn it just a little bit to kind of make sure I'm in the right place. So I apologize for moving it around. That's not the best angle for you, but I'll put it back as soon as I can get it where I want them. So I'm gonna put those pins in there. Try not to get myself, can't see. Check it out. See, I totally missed that one. Funny angle. Okay. I'm just gonna put it in there. Okay, see? Make sure that looks good. And then we can begin to attach them. So take one of the pieces of yarn left on one of the antenna. And we've joined pieces together before. So to do that, just go up under a stitch. Just like that. And then come up through a stitch in your antenna. And do that around. So go back in to the stitch you came out of and go over. And then come back up under a stitch. Secure. Again. Came out of and over. The antennae are kind of small, so it doesn't take very many times around there to get them secure. And there's one of them. I'm going to come through here, so secure it in place. And then we'll cut that off. So you can trim that down. Go ahead and do your other one. I'm actually gonna, before I trim mine off, I'm gonna leave it there. I like to wait to trim it till after I do the second one, in case I'm just not happy with how they turned out. Then I can redo it. So go ahead and attach the second one. Make sure you like where it's at, and then we'll come back and see our finished little... Okay, we just finished attaching the snail's antenna. Go ahead and take a look at her or him, whatever you want your snail to be. Make sure that the snail is shaped the way that you want it. You can move your fiber fill around if you need to. I know it's hard angle from my camera, but I'm happy with the way that she is shaped. She will stand upright. She is all completed. I hope that you enjoyed the third pattern in this series, the snail. I feel like she is a lot of fun, or the snail itself is a lot of fun to make. Lots of different colors and just really cute. Hope you're looking forward to the next pattern in the series. We are already halfway done. Looking forward to learning something new next time. Please comment or email me. If you have any questions, you can follow on Instagram to see what the next pattern in the pet series may be. Hoping just to help everyone who is interested or already loving amigurumi to learn a little bit more. Have a good one, everyone.